Steve, what we do on this podcast is, I don't know why, but when I started, I can't stick to a script. We don't have every single time we do this. It's a hey, welcome to the movie Propcast. Today we're talking about Castaway. It would be the right way to do it, but we just be weird about it. We just start it and then say it's happening. Like right now, this is it. We're in the podcast. This is it. We're actually recording, and that whole thing is now the intro.
I'm very flexible.
Yes, very good. We're so happy to have you on, Steve Harvill. This is amazing. We met just by happenstance, and I was excited to meet you. We're supposed to be focusing on you and your business, and we took a good chunk of time to just talk about movies and comics, and we were just vibing.
Let me tell you something. The landscaping crew just arrived at our house.
Okay.
Oh no!
I swear to God,
we can't hear it. I can't hear
it's
anything.
okay.
Okay, good. I'm going to move closer to the mic, and maybe that'll help it. But that's because they're not just outside the window yet.
No, that's 100% okay, and we'll make it a thing. We'll make it a bit as we go through the podcast. If it gets crazy, we'll talk about it and see how it impacts.
They never show up at the same time, ever.
This is about as great a start as we could possibly have for this podcast.
There you go.
Today we're going to be talking about Castaway. Tyler, Steve, this is going to be the first time, I think, in the history of this program. We've had guests on before, but we've never had someone on for the episode, like the actual review and the draft at the end. This is going to be exciting to have you on, and there's a particular reason why we have you on here, because in our conversation, I learned a little bit something about you, and I was excited to see it, and I guess we're going to leave that as a little bit of a teaser for when we do the actual draft. I'd imagine this item is going to be going pretty quickly in the draft.
I would think so.
Yes. So
it's an iconic hero prop.
Yes. I'm excited to see it a little bit closer. See, now I'm just saying too much. All right.
Yeah.
When the draft comes, we'll talk about that. But let's talk about the movie. Let's talk about Castaway. They came out in the year 2000. And we were talking, Steve, before this about how I whenever I sat down and rewatched it again, because this happens a lot of times with movies that are before my time. You know, and in the year 2000, this movie was not made for me, right? I was not the target audience as a 10-year-old for the movie Castaway.
Neither was Tyler.
Yeah, neither was Tyler.
No.
And so when I watched it back, and I was like, to see it from start to finish and really like give it a good look, and that's what I like to do whenever we do these episodes. I lock myself away and I lock in and actually pay attention, and it's really good because this is a movie that came on, I feel like, all the time on cable TV growing up, that I would always catch. It would come on and I'd be curious and I'd catch a lot of it, but I hardly ever remember the actual beginning of this film. Mm-hmm. It was amazing to sit down and actually watch and know that it was an actual full story. I was excited to see
great
that.
film.
So just learning more about Tom Hanks' character, obviously now I'm going to forget his name in the movie, Chuck Noland, to know what he was like before, because I'd seen the end of this movie, I'd seen the middle of this movie 1,000 times, it feels like. The one thing I had completely missed was the beginning, and to place him there with him at the end, that made the movie that much better, I feel like.
Yeah. I think The Island is a great metaphor for the change that he went through. You know, that the fact that you go from a driven workaholic where everything kind of evolves around speed to the island element in which there's no time, there's no speed, there's none of the things that made him who he was prior to the incident. And that gave that movie, I think, an unbelievable push as far as the drama of the story went.
Absolutely. And Steve, now before we get too deep into this and talking about this film, I feel like I want to take a second. I know we talked about you specifically, but I want people to know the reason why I asked you to be on here. And it's because I not the specific reason, but because your attachment to movies and film, I could feel that in our conversation initially when we were talking, and I was like, I got to get this guy on an episode. And who knows, you might be on a few more. From what I understand, you've seen a few movies, right?
I have. Yeah.
How many movies would you say if you were to ballpark it? So
probably the reason I'm on the podcast is because I've been to the movies almost every week since I was 10 years old. I created a top 10 bottom 5 movie list years ago, just as a client gift. Like I'd give it to clients, and then it developed a life of its own. And from that, I created a 90-minute interactive stage presentation called Why We Love the Movies. That's kind of outside of the realm of what I work in, which is corporate strategy. And so I get a chance to do that about half a dozen times a year for client appreciation events, for big corporate meetings where I'll do some strategy work, and then at night they'll invite everybody, and I'll do a big movie show, and it's a gigantic multimedia show. And so probably those three reasons of, I'm not a critic. I didn't go to film school. I just have gone to a lot of movies. I'm a quintessential fan. And I just took it to another level.
Can you remember, was there a specific movie that made you kind of start that streak?
Oh yeah, I can remember exactly. It was James Bond Thunderball with Sean Connery as James Bond. And I grew up in Southern California, and I went to the movie with friends. They left, and I went right back in and watched it again at that point. And that was it for me. It changed how all the stuff that I did, I learned, I loved, and went to. It all stems from the Broccoli's James Bond.
Okay, that's awesome.
So were you just like a fan of the movies, or did you have aspirations as a kid to be like, I want to be in one of these things?
I have been in.
Okay.
I was in a movie with Gabriel Kaplan. Do you know who Gabriel Kaplan was? He was a star of a TV series called Welcome Back, Kotter, that introduced John Travolta to the world. So I was a very good basketball player in Southern California, and this was a basketball-based movie called Fast Break. And what they did was they asked a couple players that had a really strong presence in the area if they wanted to be in the movie, and we would be the team that the stars of the movie played against.
Okay. All right.
So we were the visitors, and we were the visitors in every single game, so that it's the exact every game it's us. And we had different jerseys as all. And I can remember asking one of the assistant directors, I said, people are going to notice that. And he said, no one is looking at you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's great.
That makes sense.
So when I finished that film, all my friends used their money to buy new surfboards. And I used my money to join the Screen Actors Guild, because I thought, that's it, man.
Yeah.
I am in. So I joined SAG. Never got another thing anywhere.
Oh man. Oh, you can say you're in there though. That's
I am.
fun.
Yeah. My wife teases me saying I was nominated for Best Supporting Actor in a Background Fuzzy Scene.
Okay. All right.
Which,
that's pretty good.
I'm not sure that's a category, but so I actually spent 2.5, almost 3 weeks shooting the film, just playing basketball.
That's
awesome.
Really
cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like I said, just our initial conversation when we were talking, I was like, I want to know more about you. I want you around when we're talking about film. And Castaway was the choice for a very specific reason. So let me ask you, when you're watching this film, let's put your actor's hat on. What role would you say you could play in this film? What do you think you could slide in here?
I may have been. I probably could have played one of the pilots on the plane that dies early.
There you
That's
go.
what I was gonna guess. I was gonna say that first one who tries to save Chuck.
Those skill sets are. I do a lot of stage work where I'm presenting ideas in front of large audiences. That's a lot different than acting. I don't have the chops to do that, but I have a great deal of respect for Hanks, especially. I think he's the Jimmy Stewart of our generation, one of the great storytellers, and as versatile as any actor on the planet. And this movie was, a pet project of his. Took him 4 years to get it done. So, you when you can be in a pet project like that, I think it means a ton to the actor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did see, because we like to go through and get some little fun facts about this film and just any movies that we wind up watching. But I did see that they started in the beginning and they filmed just about everything prior and post the actual him on the island where he's got the hair and he grew everything out. And then they waited about a year. I mean, it was about a year.
So it was a little more than a year to film the island scene.
Yeah, so he actually bulked up or gained weight before,
Yeah.
so
Right.
he could make the change more drastic, make the hair grow out and do all that. So he had all that time. I wonder what that's like as an actor to know that you're just, what are you doing? You're just, obviously you're trying to lose weight and you're growing your hair out. That's got to be a very strange transition time when you're not filming, right?
Well, Zemeckis, the only reason they got to do that, is a little bit of trivia, was because Zemeckis went to 20th Century and said, I'll shoot another movie in that year's time. So I'll give you another film. I'll give you Castaway, and then I'll give you another film, which was the film with Michelle Pfeiffer and
What is
Harrison
it?
Ford.
Lies Beneath?
What Lies Beneath.
Yeah.
So he filmed that so that the studio would allow him to spend a year, without touching that project.
That's
Wow.
interesting.
And you can really see the difference. Like I saw it and I was wondering how they filmed, like timeline wise, how they filmed it. Cause his change was drastic. It was sort of like when, like I know in the old Rocky movies, they used to film the fight scenes first and then they would go back just so like Rocky, he didn't have to like starve himself to look ripped and stuff like that. So I was wondering what they did for Castaway, but that's crazy. I didn't know it was a year. That's a long time.
And not only that, but he only got down to like 165, I think he said. And so they CG'd a lot of the other weight loss.
Okay.
Oh, really?
During the
Okay.
movie. Yeah.
Interesting. I did see that, and this came out in an article that was during COVID, or obviously during the peak of COVID, where him and his wife actually got COVID. That
Yeah,
was like
in
one of the
Italy.
first big celebrity news that somebody got the coronavirus, and they came out and they were talking about it in an interview, and somehow it came up during Castaway that he had almost died during the filming of Castaway, where he suffered an infected cut on his leg. I didn't even know that was a thing, and I was reading into that, trying to figure that out. That's insane that he actually went through that while filming this film.
And it almost happened in the movie too.
I wonder if
He
they
got
did
cut on the coral.
Yeah, I wonder if they did that just because. I don't know. Maybe that was like
Maybe
they're
they
like,
did.
let's roll into that. I don't know, but I don't know. That's interesting that they allowed that to happen.
It was a very challenging film in every aspect of making a story like that. And it's not the right. You've got the Count of Monte Cristo. You have All His Laws. You have a lot of Robinson Crusoe. You have a lot of island isolation movies out there. But that one was, but Castaway was a labor of love.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. And I don't want to talk too much. I mean, I guess we can because it will tie back into it. Before the crash, right? Like I said, this was the part that I didn't actually really grasp over my years of knowing about this movie, owning this movie, and thinking I had actually watched it. There was a lot I missed of the pre-crash that I really got to focus on. I didn't really understand Chuck's drive. He was like very work focused, very just like getting the pager thing. You could see how much that was impacting not just him, but obviously Kelly. When you see that scene at the dinner table where the pager goes off and she thinks that it's the holidays, right? I finally have Chuck. That was so sad to see her look on her face whenever he's looking at the pager and she's just looking down. And that relationship dynamic is.
Well, we'll have to talk about
tough.
Kelly's role in the movie.
Yeah.
It is
great. I'm not gonna. Their relationship at the beginning was so, but at the end was palpable. Like that everything.
Yeah. We can talk about that. We'll get to that for sure. I want to walk through the beginning and just kind of lay the groundwork because it does kind of at the end. There's this beautiful moment that we can get to. It's hard to. There's no way you can put yourself in the shoes of what's going on in their minds during this whole process. But during the holidays, I think everybody can kind of put themselves in the shoes of Chuck in the beginning, who people are just grinding. They're just working, and that's it. That's all that matters. They're trying to it's to a detriment, right? Obviously, there's more to life than working, right? And I think that's what like Steve said in the beginning. This movie kind of shows you that. It's like, listen, obviously what happens to Chuck in this film is horrible, and nobody would want to go through that. But coming out on the other side, when he's standing in the crossroads at the end of the film and realizes his life is now open and not dictated by a pager or work, that was obviously the impact of the film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was, and the other part is he was always yelling.
Yes, he was almost a jerk.
And he was constantly yelling in the beginning, and after the transformation of the island experience, he's very soft-spoken.
Yep.
Almost whispering in certain areas when he's talking to his brother and talking to other people. And that's another great contrast between the personality shift and change that occurred because of his situation.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about, and if you guys, Tyler, if you have anything note wise you want to step in before I get to the plane crash, because
Oh yeah, I
that
do.
scene was wild. Yeah.
So I was like you, where I haven't seen this in decades, and I didn't realize they started leaving breadcrumbs from like the very first scene. Like the weirdest thing to me, and I made note, was like they set up a very happy open-ended ending with the weirdest start ever by having a guy who's blatantly cheating on his wife, and it just seems like a throwaway scene at the very beginning with the first package with wings.
Yeah,
So
I
like,
did.
yeah,
Yeah.
that first package with the wings is delivered, and this guy's like, "Oh, it's from my wife," with his mistress, and you're like, "What? Why is that even necessary?" And then you get to the end of the movie, and you're like, "Okay, they really thought through." I almost feel like there might not have been a wasted scene in this movie. If anything, there are scenes they could have added in that they didn't, and it was actually really well thought of for me.
I
for
will
that.
admit, when I started this film, there was a moment I was like, wait, because I had never seen that. The very, very beginning of this movie, I had never
Yeah.
seen that. Before Tom Hanks is on the screen, I can tell you I've not seen
I
that.
didn't know they were in Russia.
I had to hit pause and make sure I was watching the right movie. I was like, what is happening here? This is I was not
I
expecting
put it in the
this.
wrong box.
Yeah, I was like, I see FedEx. We're close, right? What is this? Speaking of that, do you think FedEx paid to be in this movie?
It feels like a
Oh.
giant advertisement.
They got to.
Astronomical
Yeah.
amount of
Yeah.
money.
Yes,
And,
this is like
I
Reese's
mean, I'm sure
Pieces.
there was a bid between UPS
Yeah.
and FedEx to see who was going to get the title, the product placement crown, because I
Yeah.
don't think any movie has product placement like FedEx does in this movie.
Not at all.
And it feels okay, right? It's because it's so integral to the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Well,
yeah.
the whole idea of the concept came to Hanks when he saw 60 Minutes do the special about how every night 2 planes leave LA to fly to Australia that are like DC-10s just filled with packages, and 2 empty planes from Australia leave to fly back every night. And he thought, wow, what would happen if one of them didn't get there?
Oh my.
That's
Oh
kind of
my.
where the whole idea came from. So I think FedEx might have had an inside line on it anyway.
Yeah, that's fascinating, and it is just it's crazy to me that that's somebody's job. That was somebody's job to sit on this plane and see the packages over. I mean, obviously there's more to his job. It's not super explained what he's doing there. I don't know what
Yeah.
his job title is. It's
I don't know.
fascinating.
He was some kind of, he certainly was in a leadership role as far as getting stuff done. And it was the unforgiving minute that was his primary tool.
Yeah, he felt like an efficiency manager or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, that was interesting. So let's get to the part where obviously he's saying goodbye. I thought when he's in there, they drive there.
Yes.
I mean, it's coming, right? I mean, what's crazy is it's been a while since I'd seen this movie. So every time he got on a plane, I was like, oh no, it's happening. So there was like a couple moments where I was like, oh, he made it home. All right, sweet, this is good. So there was like that little suspension of like, I was like, is it coming? I knew right when he got out of the car and he said, "I'll be back soon," or "I'll see," or I don't remember.
I'll be back.
I'll be back. Yeah, it was
be
like
right back. Be right
Schwarzenegger.
back. It was be right back.
Be right back is
Yes.
such a brutal line, especially when everybody knows what's coming. That's such a brutal line to see that and know that that's 2 people in love, and this man is now about to be out of the picture.
Well, I could drop my Kelly bomb anytime you want me to drop the Kelly bomb.
Yeah, go for it. Let's do it.
Wait, before you do that, 1 second. Do either of you, because I know you're both married, are either of your wives keeping that ring box closed until New Year's from Christmas?
Oh man.
My wife is not at all. My wife, that would have been open before I got out the car. There's no way she's.
And let me ask you, did you ever see that it was a ring? Is
No.
it ever opened in the movie? It's not.
No,
I don't think
it's
so.
So your assumption that it's a ring is
Yes.
interesting.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
And that will be because Kelly has been having an affair the entire time she was with Tom Hanks.
Don't do this. Don't do this.
What
to
are you
me.
doing here?
It's clearly told throughout the whole movie.
Don't do this to me.
And
No.
even Hanks knows it, which is why he's very distant in the car. Their eye contact at the holiday dinner is odd.
Yeah.
And their interactions, the dialogue, listen to the dialogue between them at the holiday dinner. She was already sleeping with the dentist.
I
she
just
ends
almost
up
got
marrying. And there's all kinds of clues in the movie that Kelly was cheating the entire time. And if you go back and do the math on the children, you'll see that she was cheating the whole time also. And he knows it. He figures it out at the end, which is why he gives the watch back. That's one of the reasons he gives the watch back, which when he does it, she even lied to him about the watch. She said it was an heirloom from her grandfather on the railroads. And when he goes to give it back, she goes, "Why would you give it back?" And he goes, "It's yours. It's an heirloom. It's been in your family." And she goes, "What? Oh yeah." She hesitates because she can't remember. She lied to him about the watch.
Steve, I think we got to shut this podcast down. All right, you broke the movie for me.
No.
I'm sorry that I have to be the one to do that, but there's all kinds of, which is why the winged artist sculptor is sending that stuff to her cheating husband in Russia. That's part of that same theme.
Yeah.
And I'll give you one more thing that you probably didn't notice. And that is when at the very beginning, when you're introduced to her in the ranch, it says the Ben, and I can't remember what her name was.
It was like, I thought it said like Dick and
It said
Bettina.
Bettina.
That's right.
Bettina.
And then when Tom Hanks is there at the very end to bring the package back, Dick's name is cut out of the sign.
Yeah.
It just says Matilda.
Yeah.
That's because she was being cheated on. And so that whole theme of underlying betrayal and the weird relationship that they had. And now when you go back and see it again, you'll notice all of these things. It was not a very strong relationship. And when he got back and he said he lost her twice, that meant he knew that he lost her the first time when she was cheating already with the guy from Sex and the City.
Yeah.
That guy. And then he lost her again when he came back. So the double lost comment at the end is because he knew that was happening at the beginning. So I'm sorry to bring that to your attention.
I'm gonna pretend this conversation never happened.
I don't know how to move forward now. Listen,
Kelly's an evil part of the plan.
I was willing to just take it for he was working too much. She didn't like that. They loved each other, but there was that disconnect there. And I thought maybe I could just suspend my disbelief till the end and it just be its.
I'll give you one more that's really obscure.
Steve, you're killing me.
When he comes back and she said, "I saved your car, your Jeep, because I thought, even though I knew you were dead, I thought you might come back." He opens the Jeep and it's just filled with her crap that she's gathering up. She wasn't saving it. She was using it as her car.
Yeah.
It was like that wasn't just sitting there and it had a full tank. You're going, okay, but that's just a little sidebar to kind of the way the movie was created to give you that. And by not noticing it, it probably wasn't that obvious to a lot of people.
Right.
But if you add those things up, she's a bad guy.
I see the plausibility, and I'm sad.
Made me sad too.
So let's talk. Let's cheer it up a little bit. Let's talk about a plane crash.
Yeah.
So let's lift the moods up a little bit and talk about a plane going down in the Pacific. That plane crash scene.
Good.
Tyler's still like, I can see
I'm
reeling.
sorry.
He's trying to find himself.
Let's go to the plane, because the plane crash had a lot of good points for me. Well, and some bad ones, but
so when I told you guys that I locked in for watching these films, I had over ear headphones. I'm in, and that sound design for that plane crash was haunting. It was it was terrifying. And if anybody has ever had any fear of planes or anything, if they watch this movie, they're done. They'll never fly ever.
I want to know what because this is also before 9/11 and all that.
Yeah.
I want to know what this did because people get scared over random stuff, like people just do. I'm sure that flights took a hit after this movie.
It's interesting. Certainly beaches took a hit after Jaws. I've been flying since I was 8 years old, because I was a competitive tennis player. So I flew all over the world when I was a kid. And then now I probably fly 40 to 50 times a year.
Okay.
So I've been in every airplane situation you can think of: emergency landings,
Okay.
heart attack on the plane,
Oh,
Wow.
the masks falling down in heavy turbulence, all of those things. And that plane crash terrified me.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it was brutal. Just I don't know whoever did that. I mean, obviously this movie won a lot of awards. The sound, just the crunching and the anxiety that was the way that it was shot. I thought it was next level stuff. And obviously when they hit the water, and there's a struggle just to get the freaking air, like the raft to open up. That's a
Yeah.
struggle. And then he finally gets it, and you're like, oh, good. The plane's sinking. We're good. And then the engine noise is just getting louder. You're like, what is
Yep.
that? They just kept stacking layers and layers. And I was like, this is insane. This is everybody's literal worst nightmare. It could not be more terrifying than
And
they
it
made
wasn't that long. The scene
No.
wasn't
Right.
that long.
No.
Yeah.
They played with tension well, because like I made note that for an older movie, even though it was like just on the cusp of 2000, the pacing for the movie leading up to this didn't feel bad. Like it was a lot of development, but it didn't. I wasn't watching my watch, and they play with like silence a little bit. And he's in the bathroom, and you think everything is safe, especially if you've never seen this movie before. This is just something everyone does. You go splash water on your face, and it goes from 0 to 100 in
Yeah.
half
Yeah.
a second. And then all the things you just said, it just kept stacking up. It was crazy.
Yeah,
That was
It's a
Steve,
great crash scene.
I want to
Yes.
get something from you. And did you wind up seeing this movie in theaters when it came out?
Me?
Was that
Oh, yeah.
okay? The sound had to be amazing in the theater, right? Like had
I'm
to
sure
be
it was.
intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't physically remember any of the elements outside of coming out of it and thinking, wow, what a tour de force for Hanks. And how disappointed I was that he didn't even get nominated
Dude,
for Best
so
Actor that year.
I made a note. It before the time jump even happened. I think he was on the island and just started to crack like a day in, and I'm already typing, how didn't he win an Oscar for this?
Not even
And
nominated.
yeah, freaking but Russell Crowe, I made note. Russell Crowe won for Gladiator, and that was also a
No,
really good
it was Kevin Spacey for American Beauty.
American Beauty. It was that year.
Oh,
Okay,
Yeah,
I
it
was
the year-
torn
yeah.
between the 2000 and the 2001 year.
Yeah, it was Kevin Spacey, and you're right. Russell Crowe was great in Gladiator.
pretty good movie.
He deserved that one. Yeah, I was just shocked that he didn't even get a nod. And you know, the problem with Hanks, right, is that he could have 10 Best Actor Oscars. Now,
Yes, he really could. He really could.
and
I looked back, and for him to go back to back in '93, this is a tangent. For him to go back to back is absurd, and then deliver this.
yeah,
This
you're right.
is-
He can play.
this is
He's just an incredibly flexible actor.
Yeah,
And by all accounts, everything that I've ever heard about him, you know, everybody's got a story where like never meet your heroes. Tom
Yeah.
Hanks is like the nicest guy in the world, from
Yeah.
what I understand.
Yeah,
he
he
just
and
seems like a
Keanu
genuinely
Reeves
good guy.
are like the nicest people in Hollywood.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. It'd be really great to meet him, obviously. But maybe we'll have him on the podcast one of these years. Who knows?
yeah, right.
We'll get him on. Steve, pull some strings, man.
That's right.
No, I do want to talk about one thing, and this is something that Tyler and I did not have to experience, and it ruins movies for me, so I try to avoid them. The trailer for this movie did get some heat, from my understanding in my research, that it almost gave away the entirety of the film at the
Really?
time. And I know that this does seem like a movie that a trailer probably would not do a whole lot for. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to make a trailer. I don't know. Obviously should never get. One of my biggest pet peeves is when they put everything in there, start,
much.
finish, the hook, the teaser, everything. I think if they just did a little bit of the plane crash, him on an island, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you give it. I didn't go back and watch the trailer, but from my understanding, it pretty much sums it up. Like, it almost like that to the last frame of the trailer is the last frame of the film.
There's
What?
there's always a war between the studios and the directing and production people. The studios want to do everything they can in the trailer to get your ass in the theater seat. And the director says you can't do that much because you'll spoil the experience of the guy you brought into the theater.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, on it. And so there's always a battle. And most of the trailers are done by companies that only do trailers. They're not done by the production company that does the movie. They're farmed out with the director and the director involved, but to companies that specialize in doing nothing but trailers. And I don't know about this one. I don't remember seeing it or anything like that. But there's a number of wars and battles that happen regarding getting the trailers out.
It bothers me a lot. It does.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It's harder now though, because back then, at least, if you put Tom Hanks in a movie and you put a minimal trailer out, people are going regardless. Now in 2024, if you put out a minimalist trailer, people are just gonna say, "Oh, I'll wait for it to go on demand or something," and then you don't get it. It's harder now. Like, technology has made it so much harder now. But for me, you just show me an actor, a title, 2 scenes, I'm going. I don't need anything else.
Yeah.
I just need. That's it.
But I get it. We're obviously we're gonna go there no matter what. So when they're making a trailer, we're probably not the target audience. You know what I mean? We love movies. We're gonna go there if it's got the people we like. We want to watch.
Well, keep in mind, in those days, in 2000, the only way to see the trailer was if you were in another movie before going to see Castaway.
True.
Yeah,
and it was only available in the theater, and you were, because of the proliferation of the instant, what I call the instant now that happens. People don't really care that much about the trailers at the movies because they've probably seen them online somewhere.
Right.
But in those days, every time, and they were called previews in those days,
yeah.
Every time the preview would come up, you'd get so excited and you'd say, "Oh my gosh, look what's coming." And now it's like, "Oh, I saw that online. I want to see it," but it lost a little of its glamour.
I do want to say one of the most egregious ones that I'd seen was for Justice League. The DCU Justice League movie.
Which, the Zack Snyder or the first one?
Not the Snyder cut. The first run. I think it was Justice League, or was it Batman versus Superman? I get it mixed up, but they gave away.
I think it was Batman versus Superman, where you see at the end,
twist at the end. They gave away the twist at the end, where I think it was
that was a bad movie.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on there.
Because you think the whole movie's Batman versus Superman, but then they started showing Doomsday at the end, and you're like, "Wait,
that was it.
what?"
Yeah.
You're like, "Why the heck is that there?"
I was so mad at myself for watching it. But I wanted to watch it because I was excited. But now now I just step away. Like a lot.
You can be mad at just about every DCU movie, so that's okay.
Yeah,
I remember specifically, for my wife thought I was absurd, but after Infinity War came out, Endgame was coming up, I didn't want to know anything.
Right.
So we would go to the movies, and the minute I saw anything, if I saw Marvel Studios, I'd get up and go to the bathroom. Like, in movie theaters, I was getting up during the trailers. On the internet, I somehow went the entire year from Infinity War to Endgame without so much as a single idea of what was happening.
You are the ultimate fan.
Blind.
Yeah.
I wanted to go in blind.
You are the ultimate fan.
I wanted the 100% pure blind experience. I did everything I could. She thought I was insane.
Yeah.
I was a little obsessive about it. I'm not going to lie.
No, I think that's fine.
No, you got to. Yeah. You want to preserve that experience. I feel like that's really the last time I think that just really been a great for me personally, because I haven't been going as recently, but like a great movie experience where I did come in and like the crowd opening night, everybody's hyped. It was like everybody was in it. There was it was that time of movie watching was
insane. Yes. Those 2 Avengers movies, like, I've never felt like energy in a crowd other than when I watch like an anime movie, because anime fans are absurd. So like when I go to those in theaters, they're crazy, but that was the other time.
Kevin Feige is so good at fan service, at doing the little things that great fans of the genre, of the story, of Marvel see and appreciate. And I think he's kind of the king of that fan service. I talk a little bit about that in my movie program, how a good director, if he's got something that's got a long history to it, a Lord of the Rings, or that's based upon something that's iconic literature, if they give you those little things, man, those are just gems for us.
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. We should probably shift back here to
Well,
Castaway,
I had
we're excited.
I had a transition. So speaking of little things, something that got me about this movie were and a testament to Tom Hanks is like, Chuck lands on the island. He just went through a highly traumatic experience, washes up on shore, and first thing he does is check his pager, check his pocket watch, and then start collecting packages. not opening them either, collecting packages and saving them. This man was ready. They told the bike story like 3 times and it got worse and worse as he kept going. And this man's ready to do it again. He lands on an island and he's ready to deliver these packages the minute he's saved.
You're
And I
right.
was like,
The shift
yeah,
has not happened. It's too fresh for him.
yes,
Yeah.
way too fresh. And I thought I loved seeing like the stack of packages. And then the minute that he starts ripping them open, you know it's a big deal. Like, you know something's about to shift for this man when he starts cracking open those packages. And I thought that was just a nice little touch for him.
And then they threw the absurdity of what was in the packages.
Yes.
Right? How
Yes.
absurd it was. You know, the ice skates, you know, you go, you know, he said, you know, like he said in it, how come there's not a raft or how come there's not something?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why. Whenever I was watching this movie, when he was on the island, it took a little bit, but before the time jump and everything, I think it was a video game I played, and Tyler, I'm not sure which one it was. I think I had streamed it for a little bit, but there's a lot of video games where you're stranded on an island, right? You
Yeah.
got to figure it out. You walk through that scenario. For some reason, I thought there was a scene in this movie where he gets access to the plane again. That never happened, and I don't know what.
Underwater.
Yeah, it's
Did you-
long gone, but I know that there's different things that wind up washing up. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was, I don't know why I was waiting for that moment. It never came. That was
I know
great.
you're not a big reader, but did you read Hatchet?
Oh, I did read Hatchet. I did. Yeah.
Did you read? You read it?
That was
So
like fifth
maybe-
grade mandatory reading, I think. Yeah.
I
that
mean,
was-
he makes it back to the, what was it, a boat or the plane? He makes it back.
yeah,
there,
I think that
but-
was it. Yeah, that
okay.
might have been it. Yeah, I don't know why I was mixing that up, but would have been interesting. But let's talk about the early stages of him on the island. Obviously, he, like you said, he does go through the shift. He's just trying to gather everything.
Mhm.
I don't know. I every time I watch something like this, I try to put myself in their shoes and be like, what would I be doing? Like,
Oh,
and
man,
I feel like
I'd be done.
Crying? Yes, crying.
God.
He
Yeah.
did none of the top things on my list, which were cry, huddle in a ball, and probably cry some more.
Yeah, and
that's
then
it.
scream
That's
at God.
yes.
Yeah,
that's-
I would be doing all of those things.
yeah.
You know, one of the interesting parts that Zemeckis did was, you know, the soundtrack stops
Mhm.
and all the time on the island, no music.
Yeah.
No
That's great,
back,
yeah.
nothing. Just the silence that Hanks is experiencing, we get as the audience. And that makes it even more palatable, more powerful that there's that, you know, you don't get you don't get John Williams
Yeah.
going dun, da, 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 da. It's just silent.
Yeah.
That's I thought that was a huge creative thing for Zemeckis to do.
Let's talk about. I mean, obviously, you're on an island. It's settled in, and you're getting to that point where you're realizing, like, listen, I don't know what's like. This is my life now, and you have to kind of decide. And you see in the time jump, there was a chance. There was a point where he was like this, trying to end it, or at least experimenting with ending it.
Yep.
Yeah.
The fortitude he has, that time jump caught me off guard. I forgot it was 4 years when I was watching this. I was like, I couldn't believe. I was like, so he's been doing this for 4
I thought
years.
it was like a year or two.
Yeah.
I thought it was a year or two. I thought it was at most 2 years. 4 is a whole nother level. That's insane. I can't imagine doing the same thing for 4.
He didn't quite have the stuff that the castaways on Gilligan's Island had.
No.
You know, he didn't have a wind-up radio and coconuts that were cocktails and all of those things, you know.
They made it look so fun. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a devastating physical experience.
I think one thing that this movie could have paid off, like would have helped, is he tried the initial escape off the island and got blown back on the yellow raft. Maybe him doing one more boat attempt before the time jump and failing, just because it felt weird that his first boat attempt, unless it's hinted at, but that his first boat attempt takes 4 years after he finds the half a porta potty. Like that just felt a little weird, because they give you that little Easter egg early on when in his house, you see his sailing certificate. They gave you like a nice 10-second like drop shot on it. So you know he knows stuff. So I'm surprised that a sailor's first idea, or at least someone with experience, isn't I'm going to build a boat. Even if he started the boat pre-time jump and finished it post-time jump. I was just surprised that it took him 4 years to be like, all right, now I'm going to do the boat.
No, I mean, he definitely was building it, right? He was building it somewhere in that time jump he had started, right? I thought that was. I thought when he came back after the 4 years.
It's hard to, and it's
Yeah.
hard to get past that first break, of the
Yeah.
waves. The first break on land to land is as a surfer, it's hard to get through that a lot of times. And so you could see where there was a huge struggle just to get through the first break.
Yeah, I would be done after that first try. I don't even know if I would have the courage to try. I'd be like, I'm gonna chill here.
That's
Somebody's
true.
gonna
Yeah.
find me to build up enough courage to even do that first attempt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you think you can go out, maybe it'll find it, but in what he had, it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like a rigged, deflated. You know what I mean? There's no way he really could have thought he was gonna get very far. I think
No.
he was just shooting his shot and trying.
I think you're right.
But
Yeah.
that to me, and this is just a personal thing. My biggest fear is just being adrift in open water, and you get that in this movie.
Have you guys seen the film All Is Lost?
No.
You need to write that down right now.
Okay.
All Is Lost is a Robert Redford film. He's the only person in the whole movie.
Oh boy.
He's sailing by himself in the Indian Ocean, and while he's asleep, his boat hits like one of those gigantic containers that just fell off a boat.
Okay.
It was just floating there, and it's about his attempt to survive the near sinking of his ship. And there's no dialogue. It's as terrifying and scary a thing. And he was the character was a sailor. He was out there by himself because he knew how to do that. It's an unbelievably harrowing film called All Is Lost.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's terrifying to me. I've told my wife before. We've had these. I don't know. We obviously have a lot of weird conversations. I initiate most of the time, but if I would rather be launched into outer space with a suit on and just figure it out in outer space than to go out in the middle of the ocean and just be like left to explore the ocean, even with equipment. You know what I mean? I'd rather be in outer space than be anywhere.
Well, we're gonna have
near
to
the
come
bottom of the
back to
ocean.
that later. That
I'm just saying.
there's
That's
we're
just me.
gonna have to come back to that
If you're in
later.
outer
Launch me.
space, you're done. At least if you're on the
Yes.
ocean, you got a little hope.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's somebody coming by.
At least
That's
you get to
right,
see
maybe.
you get to see some cool stuff out there. I don't know. But yeah.
Speaking of which, like him trying to make the first break, that was hard. I don't know if I could survive seeing a boat pass and not seeing me. That would have crushed my spirit. Like that probably would have been where I just jump off a cliff. I almost rather not seeing anyone at all than having that hope come up and then losing it all. Like that.
Yeah.
Him making it past that, he is stronger than I think I ever would.
Yeah, and he was good around hope because that's what kept him going.
Yeah.
And it was really the watch.
Yeah.
Right.
Ironically.
That was his symbol of hope.
Well, let's not discredit the other character in this movie. Wilson put on a great show, and honestly, should have got a nod for supporting actor.
Really?
Yes.
Best inanimate supporting object.
Yes.
They could have made a category, honestly. And listen, we joke about that. Obviously, it's a volleyball, but for Tom Hanks to make you feel something for a volleyball, that's impressive.
It shows you that we are by design social creatures.
Mm-hmm.
And you give somebody the death penalty or solitary confinement. That solitary confinement is an anathema to the human spirit, right?
Yes.
So the idea of giving him something that releases his social needs and desire that way was a fantastic device.
It was.
Absolutely.
And it's actually funny. He even risks infection at one point because Wilson, he kicks Wilson out and he washes into the water, and later on he pierces his hand to put more blood to make Wilson's face.
Right.
That is not worth it. But also that's his friend. That's his friend.
Yeah.
But he could have lost his hand for that. But Wilson, he meant that much.
Yeah. So let's talk about the divine porta potty wash up. Do we know where that came from? That wasn't part of the plane, right? That was just something.
No,
I think it was probably just I thought it was just something that washed up on the island. The islands are full of flotsam stuff that washes up.
Yeah, unfortunately,
it's interesting that washes up, and he winds up using that as the device to really get him over the top of these waves, really get him through, and that's once you're through that, you're set to just drift.
Yeah.
And that's my nightmare, but it's obviously. That's what he wanted. That's the only way off.
It was his shot. He was done. It was his shot.
Yeah.
So he goes through that. Like we said, Wilson drifts away. I mean, that scene
That was
actually was brutal.
heartbreaking.
Like I was like, man, I'm actually like getting a little misty here.
Oh, I'm a crier from way back. I was all in on tears.
It's
Yeah.
and I thought that was awesome that he could make you feel that, just the way that the movie was. And there's no other characters. You got to know this guy for 2 hours or an hour and a half, and it's a volleyball.
Yeah.
But he was there. He was his only friend. It was all he had. And after that, that is even more of a breaking point for Chuck in this film.
Yeah,
I think you've got
the everyday man stuck into this situation, right?
Yeah.
And then you have this dramatic power of uncertainty happening where you're never sure. Everything's uncertain. Every day is uncertain. For that stuff. And to marry all those things together in that narrative arc that happens on the island, I mean, it's genius work from writing to directing to acting.
Yeah. I think what broke me was the I'm sorry. Like Wilson falling off was sad. I don't think I'm nearly as sad if he doesn't start apologizing to Wilson for losing him. That really got me. I was like, God, why are you doing this right now?
That's sad. I wanted something at the end where like they're reunited, right? That was just totally unrealistic.
Well,
he's walking down the street and there's Wilson.
Well, he does.
The end of Batman where he sees Alfred in the
diner.
It's
the end of the third. Christopher Nolan. Yeah.
But he makes another friend inadvertently. So he's woken up by that whale that comes up and like stares at him for a second. And I didn't notice this the first time I saw the movie, but then in the background, each time something happens, you hear the blowhole of the whale waking him up. So the whale sees him, winks at him, whatever. They make eye contact at nighttime. Then Wilson falls off, and then you hear the whale, like the blowhole of the whale, like spouting at him.
I didn't notice that either.
And then he wakes up, he sees Wilson fell off. Then he loses Wilson, gets back on. Then the boat is coming by, the saving boat, and you hear and you see water splashing on him, and you hear the blowhole of the whale again blowing water on him.
So he had given up at that point where he just lets the paddles go, and he's like, I'm just gonna lay here, and whatever happens to me at this point, it is what it is. And the ship comes by, and like you said, there is like the water, the blowhole, from the blowhole like wakes him up at the very last second because it's going by, man. I know the boat is big, but it goes almost to the end of the boat before he's even opening his eyes. And I'm like, dude, I know how it ends. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? Get up. Like, you know what I mean? You're just like with him right here. You're like, you turn around. It's great. What are you doing? So there's another little 4-week time jump after that where he's actually found and picked up. They don't show you all those details. That I feel like would be another movie in itself, just him in that 4 weeks reacclimating and just trying to clean himself up and get back into the real world. You don't see that, and he's still not done after the 4 weeks. Just he's changed. He's looking at the fire. He's seeing all the food that's just sitting there being wasted.
He had ice. He had ice in his drink.
Yeah, he had ice.
He loved
so
the
happy
ice.
about that. Yeah.
I actually made a note. Have you seen Forrest Gump, Doyle?
Yeah.
I know Steven probably has. For some reason, to me, the president of FedEx giving the speech with him standing next to him felt like a Forrest Gump clip because he always ended up in these situations he shouldn't be in, like meeting the president and all that stuff. And like that for me, that little clip, I was like, that could have been in Forrest Gump.
Just you get a lot of Zemeckis bleed.
Yeah.
Zemeckis' style and his relationship with Hanks in all of those films.
Okay.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I know he's coming back through, and like you said, there was like this whole ceremony and everything. I don't know how excited Chuck is to get back to work. And obviously they're not rushing him, but it is his job, his old job that's putting on this big celebration.
Yeah.
They're bringing him back. I wonder what that looks like.
I don't think he ever goes back to that.
I don't either. It's funny because nowadays you hear, especially the younger crowd, always talking about how jobs don't have loyalty to the employees. Whereas for Chuck, the only thing that stayed constant for him when he comes back is his job. His wife wasn't there for him, his family, friends. His job was the only thing that was there to support him when he came back.
Right. The I don't know. The cynic in me thinks that
Oh no, I
it's
don't
just,
think. Yeah,
it's the FedEx is like, we got one of our guys back. This is great. You know what I mean? Nowadays it'd be
Yeah.
like, this is gonna be viral. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
this is gonna be such a great story. Everyone's gonna love it for our brand. Like, you know, that's the marketing
Yeah.
of FedEx was like, yeah, we got to do this. This would be great. I mean, obviously, I do think that the people who knew him cared, right? I do think that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they wouldn't, and you
Yeah.
do see that they do. And it's also interesting that you see Chuck on the plane, which, by the way,
I would not. No way in well. Put me
I
on a
wanted to
boat.
see the scene where he got back on the plane to fly back. That
Yeah.
would have been fascinating. But he's sitting there with his friend, and I forgot his name. I don't know what is his name in his friend? Is it Dick? No, I don't know what it is. No, it's not Dick. I don't know what his name is. His friend's name in this film. But when he's sitting there talking to him, saying that he should have been there, that he had to go through all this stuff, him dying and his wife passing away, I believe was cancer. That was brutal, and just also speaks to Chuck as a character to just still be thinking about other people in that moment.
And he's so, that's another, it's at that moment that his voice is low.
Yep.
His demeanor is low. Everything about him is quiet and still.
Yeah.
Why?
Yep.
I don't know why I can't remember his name.
It was Dick. I just looked it
his
up.
friends. Oh, it's right. Okay, all right. I thought that was also the name of the guy who got ripped off that
It was.
sign. I was like, okay,
okay.
all right, interesting. I don't know. Yeah, we'll have to figure that out later. But either way, his friend was there that he worked with before, and he was still just talking about him like that. All right, so let's get back to Kelly. As much as I don't want to, real quick, let's talk. Let's wrap up the Kelly saga.
Yes.
I
want to say, okay, you put yourself in Chuck's shoes. Do you, everything happens, you go, you're waiting in that quiet room for your wife to come out and greet you, and another man comes out. Are you staying as calm as Chuck did? And if so, if you say, okay, cool, she's uncomfortable, you see her out the window, do you stay in? Because I think I'm running out there. I'm running outside.
I mean, obviously you're different. Like we just talked about, Chuck has changed. Chuck's is different, and he's talking to his friend on the plane. He's still being kind and sweet. He's not. I doubt the last thing he wants to do is start a fight, right? Like he's not going to go out and exert himself more than he needs to. He's just taking it all in. Obviously, he's affected by it, but I can't imagine anybody in that mindset would be looking for an emotional battle at that moment, right? Like you're just kind of trying to settle in and see everything as it happens and then figure it out. To which he does later go to her home. Like he drives back taxis back to her house.
I made a silly note real quick that Chuck is legally dead right now. He could commit a murder and I think get away with it. Just so.
You watch?
That's
a double
Jeopardy.
Jeopardy
Movie.
Double Jeopardy.
I'm just saying he is dead right now.
I don't know.
So
but, okay, he's got no motive to do that. Obviously,
Continue on. Sorry.
He's got this continual emotional dumping ground that happens around him towards that time, right? And I think his time on the island made him prepared for that. The time on the island had that kind of aspect of you never know what the tide's going to bring in.
Yeah.
Right. Every day, you never knew what that was going to be. And I think that idea of him as he went along, he was prepared for stuff that would just come in a little better than he would have been in his earlier persona.
Yeah.
All right. So like the scene at the end, I don't even want to talk about it anymore after Steve's revelation. But I do feel like there was something there, right? I mean, like obviously they have a history, they have a past. Yeah. She's got a new life now. There's that weird dynamic. I don't know if you're the new guy, I guess he's not new, but you know what I mean. You're the new husband, right, with the kid. Yeah. He's asleep, but she's outside. They're yelling, like everything's happening. I don't know. You got to feel a little weirded out, but you have to like also understand. I don't know how you do that. That's.
I think Chuck towards that part was trying. He wanted to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She came out and created a secondary dynamic to him just wanting to go.
Yeah.
This is done. Just like everything else, I'm just ready to go. And then she comes out and does that whole thing again.
Yeah.
And it brings it back again. But I think he was ready. I think he was prepared for all of that in a very quiet, self-reflected kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
I felt she acted in a way that I could feel her longing for him. Like she almost felt like she was like leaning into him and like falling into him and before the kiss even happened. And I just felt like that's why I said it felt like palpable. Like I could feel and taste that she was missed him. So, and did you like that little Titans Rams little Easter
Oh
egg
yeah, I
kept
guess
in
there's
there?
a new football team. That's pretty good.
That question was, of all the questions he could ask, right? He says, "I have
Yeah.
something important." So
Yeah.
we have a football team in there, yeah. And so that was another kind of element that he didn't want to get into anything else.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
did. Yeah, that pause. You're like, he could be asking anything,
Yeah,
and then
and
and then
so
it's
it's
immediately deflated and disarming.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
just I'm that everything. All of this is done.
yeah.
I made my appearance. We had our little talk and stuff. I need to get on. I need to go.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So let's move on. She's now in the past. He's driven away in his car, which was her car for a little bit, but yeah, it was what it is. And now he's at the crossroads, right? He's at the crossroads. He delivers that package, that one package he did not open with the wings. I love that he still kept that little shred. He could have opened that. He should in 4 years.
It was his hope. That was
4
it.
years? I mean,
That
I
was
feel like
part
I
of
would
it.
be opening that, but
Well,
yeah.
let me give you a little background on a concept in film called the mystery box.
Yeah.
Do you guys know who J.J. Abrams is, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So J.J. Abrams, when he's 10 years old, he's in New York with his uncle in a magic store, and there's a box that has question marks on it. And
Mhm.
it says 25 magic tricks for this amount of money. And he turns to his uncle. He says, "You got to buy me this. I got to hand." And the uncle says, "Okay." And he buys him this box. J.J. Abrams, as this 10-year-old kid, takes the box back home. And to this very day, he's never opened it. It sits in his office. And anytime he writes anything, he looks at that box and he said, "I need to make people feel the same way I feel about not knowing what's going to happen next," because he never opened the box. Now, the mystery box is in a lot of different films as far as the concept. Shawshank Redemption, when Red is digging in the rocks and he pulls out the little metal box that has the money in it and the ticket to Zihuatanejo and all of those things. That's a mystery box because we don't know what it is. We're discovering it at the same time he is.
Pulp
So
Fiction.
the winged box is the application of the cinema tool, the mystery box, and it's the whole time it's a mystery. We don't know on the island. We don't know after the island. We don't know when it's left there, and it's driven us to think of how special that one thing is. Hell, it could have been a toilet seat cover,
Yeah.
But it's a mystery box, and that tool was used so effectively in the film, I thought, as to not knowing, right? And the crossroads scene is a spectacular ending because we get to choose with him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get to choose. There's 4 lanes there.
Mhm.
We get to choose because all 4 of those are unknown opportunities.
Yeah.
And for him, that's like the ultimate gift, I think, for Chuck.
Yeah.
Whether he goes, which way he turns is the great one. I think he turns to go back and follows the gorgeous freaking redhead.
Redhead,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I love that
Oh.
she was the complete opposite of Helen Hunt, by the way.
Yeah,
Like-
I mean, I'm running after that car.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
But
Yeah.
and I think the wry smile at the very breaking of the face at the end makes me think that he got in that car and went to the Angel's Wings place.
At the very least, just to go back and know what was in the package. You know
and
what I mean?
explain to her.
Yeah, tell her what happened. Yeah, oh my goodness. That story time alone, that's a pretty good icebreaker. Hey,
Yeah.
me and this package hung out for like 4 years,
Yeah.
Like we go back. We go way back.
Yeah, that's my humble thing on it. But I
anything
love the end. I know it got a lot of controversy. Everything in his life brought him to that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, and I do feel like endings like that do get a lot of heat, but it's
Yeah.
usually from people who just want the gratification of
Knowing,
something.
yeah.
They got to know something. They can't think bigger than that. They
We're
can't.
standing there with him.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's it. Just be there and come to your own conclusion. And they're like,
Yeah.
wait, nothing was resolved. That's the beauty of it, is he
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
do whatever he wants. That's it. That's the
agree.
goal. Yeah, that's awesome. We should probably get to this draft here. Let's get to
Yeah.
this.
All right,
I want
let's
to know.
go.
Let's hit the button here. Make the movie trailer noise. Steve, this is your movie, man. We picked this movie because of you for a very specific reason. So I'm going to let you get the first overall pick, and then Tyler and I will just babble back and forth after that, and we can chime in. But I want to get.
Okay, well, I would not. I want. I want
okay,
something other than what I have.
Oh, okay, all right. Then yes.
Really?
How about this? Okay, how about this? Do your pick. All right, I want you to pick. Don't. I'm not going to pigeonhole you, but when what you have comes up, we'll look at that a little closer.
I want the mystery box.
The box.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
all right.
That's the most important thing in the film to me is the mystery box.
What's in the box?
I agree.
I want the box.
All right. That's like, it sounds like, what's the TV show? It's like, I'll take what's in the box. Like it could be
right.
anything.
Oh, let's make a deal.
Let's make a deal. That's what it sounds like. I'll take what's in the box. It could be anything. It could even be Wilson. I don't know.
Yeah, I want the box.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Well then, we won't have to wait long, I think, for the next pick. So this is that's yours first overall. I respect it. That is such a more profound pick, I feel like. And it was with him through the entire movie, obviously, and he finally gets the delivery, and that pretty much opens up his life. Like we said, if the movie ends the way we think it would, or I guess the movie does end, what happens afterwards?
Yeah,
that box is gonna change his whole life.
So that's my pick, the mystery box.
Awesome. Okay, so I'll take the second pick here. And then we'll go back and forth, Tyler, on this. I just get it right into it. Steve, get this puppy ready. I'm taking Wilson. All right, Wilson, the ball. The volleyball specifically, there's no way. This is best friend. It makes me sad to see it. Steve, tell me about this prop right now. For people who are listening audio-wise, you can go to YouTube and watch the video. Steve is showing. We're doing show and tell with Steve right now.
This is one of the original volleyballs from the movie. And it says right on the top, there's a little 20th century. Right there.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that.
From DreamWorks. My brother is a screenwriter, and so he sent this to me as a gift a while back, and it sat on my artifacts. I have a lot of fake artifacts, meaning they're not the original one. That's a real one that I have. So that's why I wanted the mystery box, because I already have Wilson.
That's
fair. I don't blame you for that. You already got this. You don't need this. So that's the imagination that we're having. We're pretending that we're just selecting this, and we have these props. They're in our possession. We can display them in this infinity room that we have. But this guy's been hanging out with you. Wilson's been hanging out with you for a while.
God, I can't remember the year my brother sent it to me. He occasionally sends me, like, I've got I have a Doctor Strange sling ring.
No boy.
From Doctor Strange.
That's awesome.
I have a model from Jurassic Park.
Whoa, okay, calm down.
Wait. But that wasn't like a screen used.
No, this was scaling and design.
That's still awesome.
But really early in the scaling and design phase.
I might cry, but yes,
that's Doyle's favorite franchise.
That's amazing.
I also have Stephen Strange's The Eye of Agamotto, which has the time stone in it.
Okay.
Was that another scaling thing?
No, this was I don't know where this came from. I don't remember where I got it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And I've got like a bunch of stuff. Like I have the Maltese Falcon. I have a Maltese Falcon. I have the ruby slippers. I have the one ring. I've got all of these things that I use, and a lightsaber that I use in my stage presentation. Yeah. Because I just gave it in I was just in Asheville. The client hasn't shipped it all back to me yet. I haven't gotten it back yet.
All right.
That's all I got left from the stuff that I didn't take with me.
That's impressive. And yeah, I could imagine I don't have any like actual movie props. I think my wife actually, we did pick up the Eye of Agamotto. We have that. I think we got it at like a Comic-Con, but it's in like a nice blue box. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's nice.
But yeah, I don't have any like actual film, like hero screen use stuff.
Yeah.
Even though we've done a lot of stuff with the prop store, we haven't done it. We haven't actually like locked in and gotten anything.
Yeah, you haven't spent $1,000 yet on something useless. Okay.
Not yet. Hey, chill. I mean, some things might be. I mean, I might spend a decent amount of money for that Jurassic Park dinosaur there. But and my wife might condone it. Where she's a fan too. She might actually make this a rational decision with me, which is scary. And I shouldn't bring that up to her because we would.
Okay, you got Wilson, so now it's Tyler's turn, right?
Yep. I'm taking the pocket watch.
Yeah, those are there you have the three hero. Those are the three what it would be considered hero props or artifacts in it. Everything else is so I get to draft fourth now. I will take I'll take the ice skates.
All right. Hey, those are
that
pretty
was
good.
my next one.
Sorry.
Those are pretty good. I can't be mad at that. Yeah, the ice skates are incredibly useful. Like that would be like top 5 things in a package you would randomly open and be very happy, right?
I love how he
blade.
turned it into an axe. Yeah, that was really good.
But knocking that tooth out was just horrible.
I was gonna say that didn't feel like a good idea to me. I felt like there could have been another way to go about that.
I don't know what, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how else you do it, but there's got to be, rather than blunt force. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know either.
That feels bad. So if I'm going back to this, I'm trying to look at the list that I have here and try to make it make sense. Obviously, these are gone. Let me. There's a couple of things that he's messing with, and I honestly feel like the best thing to go with is whatever remains of the yellow raft.
Damn it, man.
The yellow raft, whatever's remained, because he was using it for just about, about everything. And even up until towards the end when he's on the boat that's not even utilizing it anymore, he's using that to catch water from the rain. That thing with
very useful.
Yeah, you'd be pretty rough shape without that yellow raft. So I don't know what was really left of it at the end, but I would imagine the prop department wouldn't have just had one anyway. So you know, I want the yellow raft. I feel like that's a pretty good pick here.
Okay. I already know how you're going to feel about this pick, Doyle, but I'm going to take Chuck's sailing certificate.
Oh, okay.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting. Yeah. That's a deep cut.
I like it. It's got his name on it. It's a nice little hint towards the end because they don't reference him sailing at all. I don't think verbally.
I think you were brilliant to spot that.
Yeah, I did not see that. I was not.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to take that.
This is what I love about this podcast is when we're watching these movies, we're like so locked in and we're just like, you know, but even then I'm locked in and I didn't even pay attention to that. I wasn't even seeing that, but.
Okay. I don't know how many rounds we're going, but I'll take
we go one more.
I'll take the
pager. Yep. Pager's a good pick.
That's a good one.
That is like, if this was Inception, that pager would be his totem. Like,
yeah, that's fair. Okay. Fair. So, to wrap this up, I feel like there's still some decent stuff here, but we'll touch on some of the other stuff here at the end. I think I want Chuck's just like ugly Christmas sweater. That brown
fair enough.
Sweater he was wearing to the holiday dinner.
You call that ugly? That was stylish back then.
Brown. It was like a brown weird texture. I don't know.
When do you want it? Do you want it at the Christmas dinner or do you want it at the end of the island?
I want the stinky leftover dirty one. Got it. Yeah, I want that. But it's just that's what he crashes in, right? He's in that. It was in the movie quite a bit. I mean, obviously you see that's one of the things that carries over from pre-crash to post-crash. I feel like that's a pretty good longevity. And yeah, it's interesting. You see that first, especially in the trailer and the promos, that first when he's right on the island and he's looking out and you see him looking out and he's in that sweater.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is that sweater? Like, is that a holiday sweater or is it just, I don't know. But either way, it's mine now. I drafted it, so take that.
I'm actually going to go rogue. I didn't write this down and it just popped into my head. I'm going to take Bettina's pickup truck with the angel wings on the back.
Oh, that's such a cool truck.
Oh,
so
yeah. I'm going to steal that one cuz I didn't even write it down and those angel wings give it away, so I'm going to take that.
That is good. Wow. Angel wings were obviously throughout the movie. It was his hope. Like you said, he did it on the porta potty, which by the way, the piece of the porta potty went undrafted. Pretty important.
It did.
And it also had the angel wings on it because he put that on there. Yeah. So pretty cool. I obviously that pick. Tyler is a big fan of drafting vehicles. Every time we get in a movie, he's like, "What can I get?" And your garage is going to be your
garage
imaginary
is
movie garage is amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a pretty good. I think 3 each. I think that's pretty solid. But if we want to touch on a couple more things real quick before we get out of here, that was the leftovers on the draft list.
Okay. Well, for me, I had the giant silver wings she was working on at the beginning.
Yeah,
they weren't important at all. They just looked awesome. Like those things, I would have that as an actual sculpture. I had that little the little clock that he sent from Memphis to Russia.
That little egg timer.
Yeah, the 87-hour egg timer. I have that
That's
written
pretty cool.
down.
Yeah, pretty cool.
And then the Bettina sign that just said Bettina on it, and that was it.
Yeah,
I didn't have too much.
I didn't have a whole lot. I think his flashlight could have got a little love, even though the battery died pretty quick. He was very flippant with his use of that flashlight. I gotta say, if I knew it's batteries, it's gonna die. You can't go to the store and buy batteries. I might have been holding on to that flashlight a little longer than he let that one go. And also, we didn't even really talk about Albert, where he got the flashlight from.
Yeah,
him washing up. That's trauma, man. That's
I wanted
trauma.
to make note. I feel like everyone probably was dying on this plane anyway, but Chuck going for the pocket watch and not his life raft, I think directly leads to Albert's death, whereas there's chance he survives if Albert doesn't jump up, scream for Chuck, and hits his head, and then is unconscious on the ground bleeding. So
yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
But Albert's body, I think that was a practical effect that we just ignored.
Oh, I don't want that. I'm not. Albert's
body would be a conversation starter.
Yeah. Yes. Hey, look at this guy. No, I don't like that. I don't like looking at that. One of the scariest things when I was younger is, I think it was in Double Jeopardy, where it was like the first time I had actually seen like a dead body when she's in that coffin and she's lights the lighter, or I think that was it. And you realize where she's at. That traumatized me as a kid for so long. Like even now to this day, I don't know why. It's just like that scene scared the heck out of me. So I don't like seeing. I don't think anybody likes seeing dead bodies, unless it's your job. But
I'm definitely immune to it now. So
yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I do think he probably could have taken a little bit. He could have looted a little bit more of that body. But out of respect, kudos to him for taking him and burying Albert. I think that's good. That's nice of him to do that. Yeah, aside from that, I mean, the flashlight, I think I mentioned, and I got his sweater. The statue that he test hung, pretty.
I thought about that too. At the
top of the mountain was a pretty good one too. But yeah, I think that about covers it. This has been a fun conversation. Steve,
well,
I appreciate
so honored
you
to get a chance to visit with you guys. I would jump at a chance to do it again. So when you have an opening and there's a film you want to do, let me know.
Absolutely.
I know great.
Yeah. No, go ahead, Tyler. You're good.
No, I'm just saying, just being able to talk to someone else. It's hard to find people who share the similar passion in this like that. So it's fun to be, and someone who has props. So it was definitely fun to be able to talk to you about that. So.
Yeah. Do you guys do old movies, old films, 1950s, 40s, 30s, things like that?
We haven't gone that far back. I think the farthest back is like the 80s. Maybe I don't even know if we touched the 80s yet.
So you guys have only scratched the surface of what the impact cinema has. I get it.
Yeah. Yes. We were trying to target an audience, is what it really was.
I mean, honestly, it's literally what all of our favorite movies. When we started this podcast, we were in the 90s for a long time.
I think the Terminator might have been our oldest movie.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Well, you guys, I need to give you a little lesson one time in the sheer joy of some of the most spectacular older films from like the 30s, 40s, and 50s that are, I mean, breathtaking films.
Okay. Yeah. We'll definitely have to go back and give it a better watch. I've seen a lot of older films. Obviously, I in college I went through a bunch of film courses. They put a bunch in front of you. But I was happy to do it because I probably otherwise would not have. And even though as much as I love movies,
there's only 3 films that have ever won 11 Oscars each. And that would be a good thing for you to do, is the 3 11 Oscar winners.
Okay.
And then the 3 movies that have won the big 5. Actor, actress, director, screenwriter, and whatever the 5th one is. I can never remember the 5th of the big 5. Only 3 movies have won the big 5. Okay. So those are films that are significant, right? 11 Oscars. You get the main 5 in one film. Those would be fun ones for you to do thematically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's funny is we've been doing this podcast for about 2 years now. And I've been holding it back. I haven't done it yet.
So long.
Jurassic Park and Back to the Future, I want it to be a spectacle. So I'm waiting for it to be something amazing. And I don't know why. They're my favorite films, and I want to go into it. It makes too much sense for us to do
You're
it.
You're a Zemeckis fan.
Yeah. I got to get there. Yeah.
Did they just announce another Jurassic Park, or did I dream that?
I haven't heard that.
Camp Cretaceous, that animated show on Netflix,
That's
is getting another
Okay, I think that
follow-up,
might have
Time
been it.
Jump, and it actually kind of looks like, from my understanding, the reviews for that have been actually pretty good.
I
Even
love
though it is like
animation.
yeah, it is pretty solid for sure. But
Well,
yeah.
you guys have been very gracious to have an old man on your show. So
Get out of here.
I'm appreciative of getting to share music with, movie stuff with people that are so into the genre, so of entertainment. So I'm grateful. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no, I knew right when I met you, this was the goal, man. I wanted to talk to you more about films, and we will definitely do more of it in the future. Absolutely, Steve. It's
Well,
been
good luck
awesome
on your
having you on.
move, Tyler.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
And I'll come back anytime you've got an opening.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. Again, if you feel free to like and subscribe and all that fun stuff that people say on YouTube and all that fun. I don't know. That's the shtick. But we'll catch you guys next time on the next episode, and we'll see you later.
Thanks so
love
much,
you guys.
everybody.
All right.